Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. Today our topic is Real Estate Investor Mom Flip Tips for Success.
Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast with Scott Whitwam, your blueprint to financial abundance. Settle in as we explore the mindset and methods for wealth building through real estate.
Welcome back. I'm Scott Whitwam, and I'm glad you joined me today for Real Estate Investor Mom Flip Tips for Success. Today, we're going to be talking about fix and flip real estate investing. I always appreciate other investors, and I get to learn something new and having conversation with them. Find out what other investors are doing, how they're killing it, and how they're enjoying it at the same time. That brings joy to me when I find somebody just like that. And today, I have a special guest back with me again this week on the podcast. She is a mom, grandmother, a successful real estate investor, and a personal friend, Beth Eaton. Beth, welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast.
Hey, Scott. Thanks so much for inviting me back.
Well, I'm so glad you were able to make it back for another podcast, and this worked for your schedule. So, again, glad to have you here. And what I'd like to do to start with this week is for you to share a little bit of your background and experience with rehabbing properties. We talked a little bit different subject last week, but this week I want to talk about rehabbing properties. How did you get started in rehabbing and flipping homes?
Okay, well, I'll just tell you about the first flip that I bought. My first flip house I bought on an owner contract from the county assessor, the county tax assessor, who had inquired on a rental I had for one of his employees. A very long, interesting story. I won't get into the whole thing, but I ended up getting it on an owner contract, like I said, and I acquired my down payment from a young woman I had met and got to know at the gym. This, young woman was always there, very buff, in great shape. And I was so excited about starting my company, and I told her about my newly formed company and how people actually can invest as a private money lender. I was just excited about it. I didn't think she, had money to invest. And then after I told her, she's like, wow, that's so cool. And then she told me she had money she'd like to invest. And so I'm like, wow. Yeah, I was so excited. And she became my first private money lender. And I didn't have any money at the time after doing the mastery program that I had done to do the real estate. And so it was awesome. She came up with the down payment on it. I didn't even have to pay a down payment on it.
Yeah, and I tell my coaching students all that. It's one of the things that I focus on when I talk to them. I tell them how important it is that they let everybody know what they're doing, because you never know who's going to have that house where mom and dad moved into long-term care. Now they got a house they don't know what to do with, or they inherited a hoarder home, or the family had this house and they let it go for 20 years, or the person who's got sitting on $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, or even $50,000, and they want to invest it and don't know where to, but they don't know you're involved in investing. And there's nothing like the feeling when you're talking with somebody, and you come back and you see them again in a week, and then they tell you how they just sold this perfect investment house to some other company because they didn't know you were in the business.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And that house, it was crazy. It was such a hot mess. It had fire damage, and it had a lot of bad stuff that happened there, and it was a crazy process. It took me a long time to do it, but I ended up coming out of it on top. I divided the lot because it was on a big lot, and I ended up, I was going to keep the lot and build on it, but then I had an offer for it for the same amount of money I paid for the house. I paid like $48,000 for this place. And then somebody offered me that for the lot. So I ended up making like $120,000 on the house when I sold it. It was such an amazing transformation that it the whole community, the whole 2 cities took notice. It was crazy.
Well, and that's what I love about real estate. So here, this is not by any means a get rich quick industry. But you know what? If you apply the proper principles and you put in hard work, you can make really good money. And this is a perfect example. You bought a house that nobody wanted. The county assessor was begging you to take it. You basically bought it with no money down because you used somebody else's money. I love using other people's money. You put the time and effort into it and made a decent profit on it. It's $120,000. And then the bonus is you get all your initial investment back when you sell the lot.
Exactly. Yeah, it was amazing. My first deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, your first deal. And that's the neat thing about this industry. I mean, I always tell people to play this industry for singles, like a baseball analogy. You're just trying to hit a single. You're just trying to get on base. You want to make money. You don't want to lose money, and then when you get one of these deals and it produces 50, 100, 150 or $200,000, take the home run, But where I see people get in trouble is everybody are people that try to make every home a home run. And then what happens, they get out over their skis. They've invested too much in a property that's not going to sell, in an area that's not going to sell. And, and in your case, you guys did a great remodel. You said both the towns there were, the areas and communities, they were ecstatic. I mean, obviously, county was excited to have this off their books. And now you're rebuilding a community.
Yep. Yeah, the whole area. We had people stop by all the time and comment on what we were doing. And the neighbors are like, thank you for increasing our home values, because it brightened up the whole neighborhood. It was an eyesore. And the neighborhood was great. Had, new houses around and, nice place, nice neighborhood. Was the ugliest place around and the oldest on the hill.
Those are the nicest, the ugliest homes in the neighborhood. And we've done that a couple times where we bought one, and I think we took 17 dump loads out of it. It was, it was horrible. And that was after he moved out. He took all the stuff that he wanted to take with him. But the back patio, the house about 60 feet long. The whole back patio, all 60 feet was packed. The whole front yard. I mean, there wasn't a place you could hardly even walk on the front yard. He was involved in the steel works, and there was probably 20 plus tons of just steel that was junk. Nobody wanted. We couldn't even steel prices were so low we couldn't even get anybody to come out and get it. And then he had vehicles and tires, and it was a mess. But you know what? We did extremely well on that property, and you know what all the neighbors said? We love you. It was an absolute eyesore house, and now all of a sudden they love us, and I can see you guys doing that on that project. How long have you guys been in the fix and flip investing side of things?
Well, we had rentals before, as you know, but the fixing and flipping it has been about 7 years.
Okay, that's actually a pretty good run. But when you're doing things right and you're making money on it, you can do you can do that, and that's the biggest thing, is doing things right, not trying to get out over your skis. Is that your current focus now? Are you guys focused quite a bit on doing fix and flips, or are you guys looking at other investment opportunities?
Yeah, well, right now we have been focusing on short-term, mid-term, looking into co-living, but yeah, I love fixing and flipping. I love doing the full gut remodels. I get a lot of energy from it. I am good at lining everything out and the order to do it in, and just the whole thing. I just love it, and I love having that effect on the community like that.
Now, when you say the full gut remodels, are you guys doing fire burnouts? Are you guys doing flood homes? What all are you guys doing? Oh, okay.
Yeah, done both. We've raised houses before that were in a floodplain. and had, I mean, it practically had no floor left. And we also had that same one, a truck ran through the front of it. And if you look on my website, I think there's a picture of it there, or on Facebook. But yeah, we had a pickup truck run through the front of the house after it had flooded, and it was a dramatic change with that place. And yeah, that was another one that I actually got from the county assessor. So he did business with me after that.
I say they're probably in love with you. You're gonna transform their neighborhoods like that. It's like, yeah, call Beth. So, oh man. So what about fix and flip makes it profitable for you?
Well, it's just with the full gut remodels, it's the most profitable. But I just enjoy the process, and it's a way to increase your capital faster than any other business venture that I've ever done.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can typically get the better deals on the full gut, because somebody knows that, nobody's going to want this thing. And we get that call from time to time. It's like, I got a house that there's no way I can sell it. This has happened, something fell through the roof, a tree fell through the roof, and, you get all of those things, or the fire burnout. Nobody else wants this thing. And those are the ones you can generally negotiate the best deals on. And my theory is just be fair with people. So, I don't like being part of the bottom feeder crowd in real estate investing. Trying to buy everything as absolutely, cheap as I possibly can. I like to be fair. And I know you and Dale, because again, you have the same motto: treat other people like you'd like to be treated. Treat people fairly. And so I show them, people, and I maybe you can talk a little bit to this. When I go in now, when you're dealing with the county, it's a little bit different. But if I'm dealing with a homeowner, I'll go in and say, hey, look, if you guys want to spend the $150,000 remodeling this house, we'll do the contracting work and we'll put it on the market and sell it for $400,000 or $500,000, or we'll give you the option to sell it to us for whatever $200,000, and we'll do the $150,000. We'll take all the risk, and then so. Those are the type of things you can deal fairly with people, but when you get those full gut remodels, it gives you a little bit, you can be more creative, because I know you're pretty creative when you do those. Can you talk a little bit about that too?
Oh yeah. I love getting these old houses that are just a full gut and rewire everything, do the redo the floor plan. I take down walls here, put up walls here, and beam up this and that, and make a new bathroom here or there, and open up the kitchen. A lot of those old places had these little teeny kitchens, and these compartmentalized, rooms and everything. And so I just open it all up and create, usable space where there was maybe something like under the stairs or whatever. I create a closet or, whatever. And so, yeah, I love doing that. I love it when we can just like take everything down and recreate it.
Well, I've seen some of your work, and it's spectacular. The one Airbnb that you guys got in Florida that you have been promoting. It, I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful, the work that you've done and the way you've changed that property.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I had another one that was a 1894 old farmhouse that was in Elma that was actually my favorite project. And we did some custom work in that one. I put some epoxy redwood countertops that we made out of a tree, a big old huge redwood sequoia that we took down at another project and had it milled, and then made all the countertops and the island top, with that epoxy redwood, and had it milled smaller so that the wood accents in this place were all redwood. And I had such a bid war on that place. It turned out so awesome. Did a wraparound porch on it, and that was one of my favorite places, and we got a lot of attention with that one too.
Yeah, I remember you posting those counters on Facebook and the images. It was just spectacular. And not everybody does that kind of stuff. And so when you can take a house that's built in 1890 and bring some of that kind of real wood feel and that real kind of area feel to it, I could imagine people were beating down your door for that one.
Yeah, they were. It turned out so awesome.
Well, what inspired you? I mean, you're a mom and now you're a grandma. What inspired you to get into remodeling homes?
Well, let's see. Trying to find my notes here. Well, I just wanted to have something that I could do at home. There's really nothing like real estate investing to create generational wealth. I was a homeschool mom when the kids were young and worked from home doing what I could to earn money and to teach them. But I love getting my kids and grandkids involved. I really love making an impact on people.
Right.
I've had a lot of experiences. I've had lots of people tell me I should write a book or 2 or 3, and I haven't yet. But I have experiences with ministry, with counseling, with a lot of practical things. Working with my hands, I can do a lot of things, and so I really. Real estate investing, flipping houses really brings it all together, and we involve our kids and our grandkids whenever we can, and some of my kids are paid employees now, and the grandkids are coming up, and we give them a paintbrush at our places and stuff, and just let them go at it.
Right.
And so those are some of the things.
Yeah, that makes it worth it. Well, do you have some tips that maybe you can share with our listeners regarding homes that need total rehabs?
Okay, well, it's a good. It's really important to hire a good contractor. So that would be the first thing is make sure that you hire a good contractor that understands the process and understands how draws work and has good communication. Communication is absolutely huge.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing how many contractors don't communicate. And finding one that actually will answer their phone, they'll give you project updates, they'll give you status updates, they'll give you budget updates. That's invaluable. And as an investor, you have to have people like that you can work with. So that's great advice. What do you see as the biggest remodeling mistake that fix and flip investors make?
They put lipstick on a pig and only do the minimum surface updates that are seen and cover up problems instead of fixing them well. And we really focus on fixing them well. I had an experience with that first flip that I did. It took longer than I was hoping because the city building inspector kind of gave me a bad time because he thought, oh, it's another investor that's just going to put lipstick on a pig like the ones he was used to dealing with. And so he was trying to discourage me and giving me a bad time about getting permits and everything because he thought that. And so we ended up showing him that, we didn't do things like that. We did, everything was totally up to code and everything was done well, and we took care of everything. And he ended up being so impressed with that he said, I really didn't think that this house could look like this too. He was so impressed with how it turned out. And so then he's just acting like he's our buddy after that. And he's going, oh, we run into him and he's like, oh, did you see that place over there? Oh, you guys should go get that. So, it really, that is the biggest thing, is a lot of people, flippers, they just don't They just put surface level stuff on.
Right. And I try to impress that on our crews too, because my theory, and we've talked about this before, but my theory is if I had to move into that house, would my wife be willing to move in here? So I want stuff to be right. I don't want to cover things up. I want it to last. I want it to be a good house that I'm comfortable with my family being in and somebody else's family being in. I don't want them to come in and find out they've got, $3,000 or $4,000 worth of stuff they have to fix because I covered something up, instead of fixing it right. So, I like that approach. That's a good approach. What is the main difference in when you're doing your remodels between the fix and flip compared maybe to one of the buy and holds or rentals, a short-term rental type thing? How's your approach a little different?
Well, with a fix and flip, I put more into it, more high-end to appeal to a buyer, and I try to make it, appeal to a wide range of buyers and not just buyer specific. That's a mistake that some people can make, is making it buyer specific, where you're going to limit your buyers. But just the way that is just generally popular and higher end. But with a rental, it's usually a lower end. Put less into it, unless it's an Airbnb, and if you're going to turn it into a short-term rental and then you want to furnish it well and put, extra sizzle features and wow factor into those too. So it really depends on what type of rental you're doing. But just for a normal rental, generally cheaper materials, yet quality enough that you're not going to need to replace them soon.
Right, but in a rental environment that things get damaged at a much greater rate. So so that's why I tell guys, hey, we're going to put $4 a square foot carpet in this one, not $8 a square foot carpet in this one, because it's going to get ruined. So let me ask you this last question: what is your favorite remodeling project? You like master baths, kitchens, additions? What is your favorite to do?
Well, I like adding space within existing spaces when possible. And I also love enclosing a porch, adding rooms, adding bathrooms in attic space, add rooms and bathrooms in attic space, and redo the floor plan to make it a lot more efficient and more appealing. And I also love to add exterior covered porches for outdoor living and curb appeal.
Right.
The ones that I've added the covered porches to, they sell quicker and, get more interest.
Yeah, that people's ability to do some outdoor living without being in the elements, it makes a big difference. And obviously anytime that you can expand space, you're raising the value of your property, especially if you're flipping, because there's a lot of it's about price per square foot and the quality. So no, that's great. That's great advice. But believe it or not, Beth, time has gone again. I've really enjoyed being on this podcast, but it seems to me like it's just sometimes too short.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's been my pleasure too, and thanks so much again for inviting me back here.
Absolutely. And I'm certainly going to invite you back. Hopefully I can tap into some more of your knowledge with some more investor questions in the near future.
All right. Sounds good to me. Just let me know, and we'll see if we can get it on the calendar.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. All right, people, you've been listening to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. You have been listening to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. And that's all the time we have for today's episode. We've been talking with Beth Eaton of Sunspot Property Solutions and Promised Land Construction. Thank you for joining me on this episode. If you found this episode, Real Estate Investor Mom, Flip Tips for Success, helpful, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And if you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. You can always find Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast on Spotify, the iHeart Radio Podcast Network, or wherever you get your podcasts. This has been Scott Whitwam. Be sure to join me on the next episode of the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast, where we are wealth building through real estate.